"Do not be afraid, Abram, I am your shield, your very great reward." These words, spoken by God to Abram in Genesis 15 verse 1, echo through millennia, offering comfort and courage. Imagine Abram, a man facing uncertainty in a world unknown. He left his home, his people, everything familiar to follow a God he hadn't seen. Yet in the face of fear and doubt, God spoke. He promised protection, he promised reward. Abram's story resonates with our own human experience. We each face moments of darkness, times when fear threatens to overwhelm us. The loss of a job, the illness of a loved one, the uncertainty of the future, these trials can shake our very foundation. But just as God spoke to Abram, he speaks to us today. His message is timeless. Do not be afraid. He is our shield, protecting us from the storms of life. He is our reward, offering a peace that surpasses understanding. Abram lived in a time of great uncertainty. He was a nomad, traveling through Canaan, a land promised to him by God, yet occupied by others. He faced famine, battles, and the constant pressure of survival. Yet, amidst these challenges, Abram remained steadfast in his faith. He trusted God's promise, even when the path ahead seemed unclear. He believed in a future he couldn't see, holding on to God's word as his compass and his guide. Abram's faith was not passive. It was a vibrant, active trust in God's goodness and provision. When God asked him to leave his homeland, he obeyed. When God called him to sacrifice his son Isaac, he was prepared to follow through. His unwavering faith, a testament to his deep-rooted belief in God's plan. This kind of faith, a faith that acts even in the face of fear and uncertainty, is the very essence of what it means to be a follower of God. One of the most tangible ways Abram demonstrated his faith was through his practice of tithing. He gave a tenth of all his possessions back to God, acknowledging God as the ultimate provider. This act of giving, especially during times of scarcity, was a powerful testament to Abram's trust in God's abundance. He understood that true security came not from material wealth, but from placing his trust in the one who holds the world in his hands. Tithing for Abram was not merely a religious duty, it was an act of worship, a tangible expression of his gratitude and dependence on God. It was an act of faith that went beyond words, demonstrating his belief that God would provide for his needs. This principle of tithing, practiced for centuries, continues to hold relevance today. It's a reminder that true prosperity comes not from hoarding our resources, but from recognizing God as the source of all we have, and generously sharing what we have been given. God's blessings on Abram extended far beyond material wealth. He blessed him with a son Isaac in his old age, a testament to God's power and faithfulness. This gift of a child, a son to carry on his legacy, was a blessing beyond measure, a fulfillment of God's promise to make Abram's descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky. Abram's story teaches us that true wealth is not measured in possessions, but in relationship, our relationship with God and with others. It's about living a life of purpose, guided by faith and fueled by love. It's about recognizing that true security and lasting joy are found not in what we accumulate, but in whom we choose to follow and how we choose to live. Just as God called Abram to a life of faith, He calls each of us to a life marked by trust, obedience, and generosity. He calls us to step out in faith even when the path ahead is unclear. He calls us to trust in His provision even when we face scarcity. And He calls us to live generously, sharing our resources with others, knowing that true abundance comes from a heart aligned with God. Our journey of faith, like Abram's, may be filled with challenges and uncertainties. But let us be encouraged by the words spoken to Abram, "Do not be afraid." Let us cling to God's promises, knowing that He is our shield and our very great reward. Let us live lives marked by faith, obedience, and generosity, trusting that in following Him, we will find true and lasting joy.